I study the relationship between technology, social movements, and art. I didn't really consider myself an artist until people started, calling me that. But really what I've always seen myself as is a media activist who is interested in using creative strategies with groups. I hardly ever work on my own to bring certain topics through, compelling, what one would call effective, engaging ways into specific spaces, which may include festivals, museums, art galleries. But the idea is really for me to find different ways to use media to catalyze encounters among people. This is what I call connective media. I was involved in the Women's March archive project because with my colleagues at Northeastern, we ended up rescuing all the signs from the garbage. After the march, we'd gone out for dinner, and then on our way back home, we walked past the Boston Commons where the march had been held. And people had left, who participated in the march, had left the signs propped against the fence of the Boston Commons graveyard. But then we found out that the park rangers were going to throw the signs away because they couldn't just leave them there. So it seemed to us that the people who had participated in the march wanted to leave something linger in, their presence. They had created almost an altar, an art exhibition, and they and this constitutes social movement memory. And we were able to invite different volunteers and people from Northeastern University to help us take pictures of every single sign, so that we could then import them into an interface, develop a platform. We did an analysis of all the content of the signs so that we had enough metadata that was generated to be able to use it then to design the archive. And so at the moment we have the archive, which is searchable. You can basically type in almost anything and then you will find signs that come up that pertain to that word. And we never start by saying, oh, we're going to make a documentary, or oh, we're going to make a sound piece, or we're going to develop an online archive. It's really first about understanding the groups and the needs of the groups and the context, the what is possible, but also the goals. And so then according to that, we define and decide what kind of medium would be the best medium to express that kind of knowledge. One of the things that we have today is that there is so much media that is produced, and it's often based on black box platforms that are given to us by corporate giants who design those platforms not necessarily with the potential for new creative interactions in mind, but mostly to guide users through specific patterns so that they can also collect the data and mine it and extract profit. So they're for-profit platforms. But what it does, it really changes our way of relating to technology, and so that we become used to finding, pre-programmed, interoperable interfaces that look familiar to us, right? We all know what, the sign like this means, or one like this, or there is the share sign, or, the so many numbers that really describe our interaction online, how many friends you have, how many links you've posted, how many likes you've had. And so these kind of features in the design of for-profit platforms end up also shaping our way of imagining what we can do. So we hear so much about, like the Facebook revolution or the Twitter revolution, and how, Egypt was able to rise up thank you to YouTube or to Facebook, and how, Twitter really brought down the government in Iran. And there is a story behind that we hide when we tell that kind of story, when we tell a story of a technology that is able to do everything. And in the same way, also when we say it's never the technology, it's only the people. But it's important to think about how it is different organizations and groups and individuals who become, find ways of using that technology creatively. there are a lot of organizations, there are a lot of groups, there are a lot of individuals who are really finding different ways of making their voices heard, but not just to protest, but also to propose alternative solutions. So it's important to recognize that we cannot just tweet and retweet or like articles, but that there are other ways in which we can have a stronger voice. One of the things that happens so much on social media is that feeds get crowded and the information goes really fast. The feeds are ephemeral, so it becomes easy for us to just have one thing come from one ear in and then out from the other because something else is already coming in. And so I think retaining our skills for critical thinking really has to do with our ability to make connections across different phenomena. And so, for instance, now the media itself, suffers of amnesia very often. They're talking about all the, high school students in Florida who have taken to the streets and have been organizing for the regulation of weapons. And that's really important, and it's great that they're talking about it. One of the things that they're now covering, for instance, is how young people in Ferguson were already talking about that a long time ago. And so really making connections across different struggles.
Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Don't shoot.
It's harder for people to actually understand what is real and what is fake. And that's because we don't have the media literacy. We don't know how to search for things, but also because we're not able to see the bigger picture and all the different layers of which it consists, it's easier to just believe one little thing if we don't know how it ties to the larger story.